In today's episode, the treacherous Washington, the United States, is bankrupting the European Union with the war in Ukraine. The Armageddon is at hand, the post-war world order is collapsing. NATO will disintegrate. Kremlin propagandists mock representatives of sexual minorities. The Swedish LGBTQ army in Stockholm is going to join NATO. Our analytical team at Detector Media is on constant watch, tracking the spread of the boldest fakes from Kremlin propaganda. I'm Vadym Miskyi, and for the next 10 minutes I'll guide you through the key facts. Let's get started. The United States is bankrupting the European Union with the war in Ukraine. This manipulative message has been spread by Russian propagandists. According to them, the United States has intentionally shifted the main financial responsibility for helping Ukraine to the EU countries.
Посмотрите, вот на этом конфликте кто потерял? Европа, которая лишилась огромного рынка. Ну и мы, конечно, потеряли, тут из песни слова не выкинешь. Кто приобрел? Соединенные Штаты Америки. Они всех поставили под свой диктат.
Stop Fake fact-checkers investigated the case. In fact, financial support from the United States during the war amounted to $43 billion, while the EU countries provided 20 billion euros. This means that the US has provided more assistance. Western allies do not leave Ukraine alone against Russian aggression.
Ukraine's strength lies in its people, in your courage, your force, and your enduring hope for a future of peace and prosperity in a united Europe. You are an inspiration to all Europeans, and we will stand with you for as long as it takes for Ukraine to be free. Together, we will win a just and lasting peace.
Defeats on the battlefields are forcing Russian propagandists to look for new narratives. The main one is that the Kremlin is supposedly at war with the collective West, not Ukraine. The post-war world order is collapsing. NATO will disintegrate, so says former Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson. His manipulative statement was immediately picked up by Kremlin propagandists. Here are the arguments of the American journalist.
The post-war order is collapsing. NATO is going to collapse, obviously. You can't have the driver of NATO, which is the United States, sabotage Germany's main source of cheap energy in Nord Stream. The Biden administration blew up Nord Stream. And the Germans are so self-hating, they won't say anything about it. They sort of put their head down like, no, I don't want to talk about that. Okay. But I do want to talk about it because it's important. First of all, it was the biggest act of industrial sabotage in history. Second, it was the largest man-made CO2 emission in history, which if you're a global warming cultist is like the devil himself come to Earth. And the Biden administration did that.
NATO, on the other hand, is becoming stronger by uniting to help Ukraine.
I honor the relentless courage and determination shown by the Ukrainian military leadership. Together, you have set the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian people on the path to victory. You have transformed modern warfare under unimaginable pressure, under unimaginable circumstances, with the eyes of the world firmly fixed upon you. You are fighting a war on an unprecedented scale. Military leadership is about making 100% of the decisions with 50% of the information. It's about working with shortages in high-pressure situations with consequential risks. Military leadership is not only about what you know. It is about who you are as a person. Just as this war is about who you are as a nation. Every day, you, the Ukrainian armed forces, defeat the odds and inspire men and women in uniform all over the world. Putting service before self. You are proving what courage, dedication, and strength really mean. Sacrificing everything you have to protect who you are and what you believe in.
As to the gas pipelines mentioned by Tucker Carlson, Spiegel magazine has published an investigation that states that the commander-in-chief of Ukrainian armed forces, General Zaluzhny, supposedly led the Ukrainian Special Forces operation to blow up the Nord Stream in the Baltic Sea. Deputy spokesman for the German federal government, Wolfgang Büchner, dismissed this information as a speculation. As a reminder, the explosions of the Nord Stream gas pipelines occurred a year ago. So far, law enforcement has not identified those responsible for the sabotage. The Swedish LGBTQ army in Stockholm is going to join NATO. This is the ironic title of the video of the Swedish Pride Parade, which Kremlin propagandists are using to make a political point. Russian propaganda regularly uses the topic of sexual minorities for political purposes. For propagandists, the concept of European tolerance is just a way to make Russia more homophobic. The combination of LGBTQ issues and NATO expansion is just another reason to create toxic content. If it were not for the Kremlin's aggression, NATO's borders would not have become closer to Russia.
This sends a very clear message to Russia, to President Putin, that NATO's door remains open. And that it is for NATO allies to decide on enlargement. Moscow, President Putin doesn't have a veto on NATO enlargement. And this is demonstrated by the fact that Finland is now already a full-fledged member, and that we yesterday agreed to also make Sweden a full member, that Turkey will ratify the accession protocols for Sweden. So this sends a clear and strong message, and it also demonstrates that President Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine was a big strategic mistake. He totally underestimated the Ukrainians, he underestimated the unity of NATO allies, but he also underestimated the political consequences in countries like Sweden and Finland. He went to war because he wanted less NATO. He's getting more NATO military presence in the eastern part of the alliance, and 2 new members, Finland already a member, and then Sweden soon to become a member. So that just highlights the big strategic mistake that President Putin made when he invaded Ukraine.
Sweden will finally become a member of the alliance this fall. NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg reminded that Turkey has pledged to ratify Sweden's accession, but the country's parliament will resume its work only in October. Ukraine has accused China and TikTok of its failed counteroffensive. This fake was circulated by Russian propagandists. They claim that Chinese hackers prevented the Ukrainian armed forces from advancing. The fake was created based on an interview with Ukrainian cybersecurity expert. Of course, they distorted the information.
TikTok зливає максимально все про вас і про ваш телефон, тому що це китайський додаток. А у китайців взагалі всюди, і в кібербезпеці в тому числі, отримати максимальну кількість інформації, звідки тільки вони можуть.
The expert did not make any statements about a counteroffensive, but only spoke about security in the digital world. The State Security Service of Ukraine takes care of the country's information security around the clock, countering foreign cyber intelligence. As for our fighters who inform Ukrainians about the frontline situation through TikTok, this did not prevent them from driving the Russians out of Robotyne after fierce fighting. The Washington Post writes that Ukraine's counteroffensive may yet surprise critics. American military experts spoke positively about the capabilities of the Ukrainian army. In their opinion, the troops are now successfully advancing in 2 key areas: in the central part of Zaporizhia region near Robotyne, along the route to Melitopol, also in the east of Zaporizhia towards Berdyansk. Experts say that it seems that the Ukrainians have broken through the first portion of the mined territory and defenses in both sectors. Stay tuned so that you never fall victim to Kremlin propaganda. Ukraine will win thanks to the support of our Western partners. Good luck!